Well, hi again, everybody, and welcome back to this week's edition of the Matt Report, courtesy of the Cobos Insurance Center in Elyria. Shaun Bennett with the Chronicle Telegram, Tim Alcorn with AM 930 WEOL. Each and every week, we love to get together on this weekly video to tell you all about the wrestling scene as far as Lorain County and Northeast Ohio is concerned. Shaun, last week, kind of a quick look back, boy, the big story, the Southwestern Conference Wrestling Tournament, and the Midview Middies captured the crown.
Right, and they were kind of my preseason favorite because I knew they had a lot of horses coming back, a lot of senior leaders that have been doing great things the last 3 years. So coming into this season, I was kind of expecting big things out of Midview, and through the regular season, it seemed like it still could be anybody's race. So Olmsted Falls was right there with Midview; they were tied. Right behind them, Amherst, Avon. Avon Lake has been improving. I mean, just a lot of teams in that conference and in Lorain County were vying for the title. So it was pretty close. And for the most part, for the most of the day, Saturday, Avon Lake was kind of rolling through people. They were knocking people off. They had guys like most of their team was in the semifinals. They took 7 into the finals, which was the best in the conference. But eventually, they just didn't have the horses. I think they had 8 guys who were able to get into placement matches. They only had, I think, 8 or 9 in the tournament, so they were kind of hurt by the fact that they just didn't have the numbers that some of the other teams did. Midview and Olmsted Falls, as expected, were able to pass them up in the consolation rounds. We always talk about how important those consolation rounds are, and those consolation matches is where they were able to gain points, kind of sweep past, and then it was a 2-race horse there at the end, and Midview just kind of outpaced Olmsted Falls. Got a couple big wins at the end out of Trevor Began and Seth Rombach again, coming back to that senior leadership. They win their championships, and that puts Midview over the top and gives them the first title that isn't an Olmsted Falls or Brecksville title in 14 years.
And in reading your article in the Chronicle Telegram the day after the tournament, boy, Sean Bristow, the Midview head coach, was really complimentary of those two programs, Brecksville and Olmsted Falls, to say, they were the bar. That's the type of program we want to have.
Yeah, and Brecksville, I mean, is still a nationally ranked program. They're now at the Suburban League over there, and they spent 10 years in the SWC, and they won 10 titles. So they were perfect.
Wow.
10 for 10 there. Olmsted Falls has won every title since Brecksville's left, and Olmsted Falls has always been one of the top contenders as far as wrestling goes in the SWC. And then, Midview and Avon and North Ridgeville and some of these schools come over from the West Shore Conference, so they're kind of new to the program, and they've kind of stepped right in and provided that same level of competition that these SWC schools were used to for years and years. And Amherst was kind of the stalwart. They're the ones that I've been covering the SWC for a long time. That's always been kind of up there battling with Olmsted Falls and some of these other teams for titles. So it was kind of like the usual players, but at the same time, kind of an unusual situation because these teams were all really kind of the parity was pretty close there at the top of the league, which is kind of nice to see.
I know a little bit later on in the video we'll do a tip of the cap to a local wrestler, but you do have to tip the cap to Midview head coach Sean Bristow, who we alluded to earlier. What a job he's done with that program.
Yeah, and obviously Sean knows what it takes to win. He's a state champion,
right.
And he did it in the SWC. He was at Avon Lake, so he kind of knows the lay of the land there. He knows what it takes to get done. He's still a younger guy. I mean, he may not argue with that, but he's still a young guy. He has lots of energy. He's able to get on the mats and roll with these guys, but not just the energy physically, but he's, you can see it when he talks, when he, interviews. He's excited. He gets pumped up for things, and he really enthuses these wrestlers at Midview to kind of go above and beyond. And you can see that in what they do on the mat. And you can just see that in the way they hold themselves. So certainly. Great job for him in the program and the coaching staff. They've definitely turned that program into something pretty special.
Again, congratulations goes out to Midview, as we mentioned, Sean Bristow and some of the individual wrestlers with that Midview program. So while Midview wins the crown, from any other school, Sean, were there wrestlers that kind of stood out aside from the middies?
Yeah, there was wrestlers all over. Like I said, Avon Lake did that great job. They finished, I think, third. Yeah, they took third out of 10 teams. Avon was right behind them at fourth. Amherst at fifth. North Ridgeville was eighth. So all of our county schools, nobody finished dead last or just had an awful day there. Everybody did pretty well. talk about some of the champions real quick. I'll run through those. Andrew Fillion from Midview was the first one to kind of get started for them in the finals. He got a championship at 132 pounds. Trevor Began at 182, and he pinned a state-ranked guy in Mendeluk from Olmsted Falls. So that was a big win. That was the one that clinched the title for them, so that was pretty impressive as well. Seth Frombach at 195 pounds. Alec Negron from Avon Lake won his second SWC title at 120 pounds. So that was really nice to see that he came in. He kind of saved something special for this tournament. He's put up some of his best performances that I've ever seen at the SWC tournament. John Perry was first at 126, and Will Daniger was first at 170. So Midview had 3 champs. Avon Lake had 3 champs. Amherst had 3 champs. Tim Carrion at 138, Xavier Rivers at 145, and Matt Lee at 285. And then the last local champ was Jack Resch from Avon at 220 pounds, who also beat state-ranked Matt Snyder from Midview in the final of that one as well. Or Jacob Snyder, sorry, not Matt Snyder, Jacob Snyder.
Wow. So, again, terrific wrestling in the Southwestern Conference. So that pretty much does it as far as conference tournaments are concerned. And now we look forward to the actual tournament time, correct?
Right. That's the end of the regular season. The SWC and the Sandusky Bay Conference were our last 2 involving Lorain County group. So, yeah, we move into sectionals now. Sectionals, there's basically just 3 with Vermilion kind of pairing off on Division II and going to a Northwest sectional in at Sandusky. So other than that, everybody's kind of in the same place, which makes it easier for the fans to go and see the Lorain County schools, easier for me, and the media, thankfully, to go cover. So that's going to be a lot of fun, and there are some difficult sectionals, especially Division I. They're grouping all up at Westlake, and, you're talking the same schools in the county: Amherst, Avon Lake, Elyria, Lorain, Midview, North Ridgeville, and then you add in North Olmsted, Olmsted Falls, Westlake, and St. Edward. So that's a brutal sectional, and it doesn't get any easier. And they move out to a Northwest District tournament in Perrysburg, where you're adding in, Fremont Ross and Oregon Clay and Perrysburg, and I think Brecksville is heading out there as well. So it's going to be just an awfully tough district tournament. So, but the good thing about that is if you get through that district tournament, you're probably feeling pretty good about what you might be able to do down in the state tournament. I think a lot of guys who get out of that Perrysburg district have a good shot of ending up on the podiums in Columbus and being an All-Ohio State placer.
In other sports, football, playoff time, basketball, tournament time, and so forth, there's an extra level of intensity, an extra level of excitement. The same in the wrestling?
Yeah, absolutely. These guys step up their game. This is what they're working for, 99% of the year. As soon as the state tournament ends, these guys are starting to put their freestyle schedules together, and they're looking at open gyms, and they're going to camps in the summer, and all year round they're working. And all high school season, once from the Avon Lake Knights of Columbus tournament all the way till their conference tournament, they're building up for this sectional tournament. So, yeah, there's excitement in there. There's energy, and you see some high-level wrestling through sectionals, and it's each week, too, it ramps up. District, it gets more excited, and then down at state, you're in this huge arena, and it's just like there's electricity in the air.
We've talked about some of the great local wrestlers throughout the year on this weekly video, Sean, but is there someone that you're thinking might be a dark horse, might be a surprise young man to get out and get down to Columbus?
I'm not sure, because it's always somebody that you don't really kind of see coming. There's always a guy that kind of surprises me with what they do, and it'll probably be somebody in a good program, though, like a Midview or Elyria, maybe one of the kids that haven't been getting a lot of press and haven't been doing anything, but they're in a practice room working with these high level kids that you do hear about all the time, and over the course of the year, because they're working on their skills with these guys that are showing them, the big time technique and moves and things like that, and just the standards and how to become a better wrestler. That's all of a sudden they come out of nowhere, and boom, they're just big, doing it right. It's a mix too. It's also peaking at the right time, getting a little lucky. You can't win a state title without having a little luck sometimes, whether it be in your draw or just somebody making a mistake against you or whatever it might be. So it could be I don't have anybody pinned down, but there could be several guys that might step up and do the thing.
Pinned down. See, did you catch that little Little pun there, pinned down. I like that one.
Yeah. Tuck fall down.
All right. Well, earlier we gave our unofficial tip of the cap to Midview head coach Sean Bristow, but the official tip of the cap has now arrived to an actual Lorain County wrestler. So, Sean, you've been poring over your notes here, and we talked a little bit about this before we rolled. So let's give our official tip of the cap to...
I'm going to give it to, and I want to just start by saying there were a lot of guys this weekend that were impressive. We'll even say
super impressive.
I'll let him say it. So there were a lot of great performances, a lot of guys who stepped up and did great things. But if I had to narrow it down, I'm going to give it to Amherst Tim Carrion at 138 pounds. Tim came in as the number 4 seed at the 138-pound bracket, went into the semifinals and had to face top-seeded Jihad Salty from Olmsted Falls. Who's number 1 seed. He's ranked number 10 in the state right now, and he's a returning state qualifier. And it was a back-and-forth battle, probably one of the most exciting matches of the tournament, and he ends up pulling out a 12-10 decision. Then he goes in and beats number 3 seed Jaron Viancourt from North Ridgeville 10-5 to win the title. So that's basically 5 takedowns to 5 escapes. So just basically put on a clinic of what to do. If you're asking about the guys that are possibly going to step up, Tim Carrion is basically going into the sectionals with a lot of momentum, and he just knocked off one of the top dogs in his weight class that he'll probably see next week at Westlake. So he's got to have a lot of confidence. So big tip of the cap to Tim Carrion.
See, and there was another one. Beat one of the top dogs, kid from Olmsted Falls, Bulldogs. See, I caught that one, too. You didn't think I was going to catch these, did you?
They come out subconsciously sometimes. I don't know.
No, Tim Carrion, congratulations. That's a great story, in all seriousness. When you beat 2 guys that are seated ahead of you, that's an awesome story. Congratulations, Tim. All right, that's going to do it for this week. I think next week we're going to be on hiatus as far as the wrestling show is concerned. Maybe not. We'll see how it plays out, but we'll definitely be back before the state tournament is concerned. So for Bruce Bishop, the guy behind the camera, Shaun Bennett from the Chronicle Telegram, I'm Tim Alcorn with AM 930 WEOL saying thanks again for watching this week's edition of the Matt Report.